Hey, what it do today? Today we are making Serum presets for beginners. You already know what it is. We are getting into Serum presets that are easy, Serum presets that are starting slow. I want to be able to show you guys and break down the techniques that you can use to start with Serum, start with the basics, right? I'm going to keep it simple here. Try to keep it as easy as possible. Any questions, leave it in the comments. Let's get it. So first I want to show you this bass that I made here. This delay is on it. I'm going to turn that off. I can move this right down here. These are the type of results that we're going to be getting. But I want to show you exactly how I got here and what knobs you need to pay attention to and what knobs are important. Now, first off, I want to show you what note I'm playing. So I'm playing a D0, which is down here. I'm playing it on my keyboard using this button up here. Okay, cool. So now you know what I'm playing. Now let's check out what we have on the post-processing. We have some effects, which is reverb, auto pan. This is making the sound in a space and wide. There's also this Yeoman chorus effect, making it wide as well. This EQ right here is just cutting out some of these lows, boosting some of these highs. And this right here is a loud rack to make the sound very loud. This loud rack will be included in the description for free below, so you can make any of your sounds loud. If you want to get this full sound, that will be in my Patreon. You can get this full rack and the preset as well. Okay, but first, I want to show you what it looks like when you open a blank Serum so that you guys can follow along. So first, load up Old Faithful Serum. I'm also going to be including some wavetables in the description as well. Live 10 wavetables, so that you guys can have the same wavetables that Live 10 has, and you can follow along here. Okay, so when you open up Serum, you're really going to be navigating in a certain direction. The way I work to make it easy is I start with oscillator A, which is our first sound oscillator, and then we move on to B, and then we can move on to the sub, the noise, and then the filter. This down here, the LFO, this is to make shapes. This is to create movement with the actual sound. When you add these to a knob, what it does is it modulates the sound, so it's moving. It's called modulating. Perfect. So now, if you have your sound selected, you can go ahead and press on one of the buttons to play the sound. So I'm pressing D0. Now I'm pressing D0. This is a saw. When you are using Serum, you can go into analog and go to basic shapes. And this specific table here will show you all the basic shapes that we have. When you're making music, most music is made using these basic shapes. So you have a sine wave, a saw wave, another saw, a square, another square, another square. Different type of waves. So you'll combine these sounds to make sounds. You'll layer sounds together. And you'll also change these knobs to change the characteristics of each sound. But when it comes to bass music and dubstep, we are using a lot of frequency modulation, which is right here, FM from B. This is to make those metallic-y dubstep sounds. We're going to be using this knob a lot. Okay, so now we're basically just in Serum. We have our sine wave right here, which is a sub. As you hear, it's very clean. We have a saw, which is more dirty. We have our square. Perfect. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a shape from the Live 10 wavetables. And we're going to get this amber shape. The reason is because at the tail end of this, at the bottom of the wavetable, it's simple, almost like a sine wave. So we can start here with a simple wave. We do not want to start with one of these waves that are all distorted and messy. We want to start simple. So we're going to choose that amber wave. Sounds like this. Now if you move this wavetable position, it's going to change the sound. So you can choose a point and play it, or we can use an LFO and we can move the sound. I'm going to remove this and I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to turn this down, the level. This is the volume. So we don't hear anything right now, but we're going to add the LFO to this so we can modulate the volume. This is the first and most important step to taming and controlling your sound. Add your LFO to the level of your oscillator. This will give you full control of the sound using the LFO in this box. We can change the LFO like this to make a new shape. Make the shape that you like. I start with a simple shape like this. I put it on trigger, so every time I press the button, it's going to start from the beginning. And I usually leave it on trigger, and I will mess with this rate to change the speed. So this is a normal quarter note speed. We can go slower at a half note, or we can go faster at eighth note, 16th. Don't forget triplets. This is a different type of rhythm, 1/8 triplet or 1/4 triplet. Different rhythms, different flows for your song. So use those. Now what we're going to do is introduce a new oscillator because we need to bring in this sound. We're going to bring it in to the first sound. And the way we do that is by using FN from B. When we turn this up, we're taking the B sound and putting it in A. We also want to turn down the level over here so that we don't hear it. On this side, we only hear it on this side when we turn up this knob. So it's turned down, we don't hear it. When I turn it up, we'll start to hear it. Usually this spot right here, this little section, is the cleanest. You find a good spot that sounds good to you? I like this spot. Perfect. Now we're going to add this sub, which is the sub bass. This is another bass layer. We're going to turn the level down, and we're going to do the same thing that we did to oscillator A. Add the LFO to the level. When you press direct out, that means that it's not going to be affected by all this effects. We're going to add effects later. We want this sub to be clean, so we're just going to click on direct out. It'll be by itself. And this sub will be a perfect sub playing with the rest of our sound. That's the low end of the frequency spectrum, while we create the middle and the high end over here. Nice, we have a basic sound here. We're also going to turn down these randoms so that it's the same exact sound every single time and it doesn't phase. So we have a sound here. We're going to add more movement using these filters. Now you want to add movement because it makes the sound more alive. It makes it more interesting. So what you can do is you can get a high notch filter. And what this does is it filters the sound. So if you see here, only the highs are playing and the lows are like cut off because of this. and you can move this around. We add this LFO to the cutoff so that we can move the actual sound. So now you hear it move. This frequency knob does the same thing. So we're going to add the LFO to this knob and move this as well. Now they're moving together, kind of touching each other. You have a nice little sound now. And you see this LFO is now moving multiple things at the same time. And that's really the goal. You can start moving the FM from B. Find a spot that you like. Now, this is the basic idea. You get a clean wave, you bring in a dirtier wave, you add some movement, and you create the speed of your sound right here. Remember, this up here is just a separate sub-bass for your low end. Now, what you want to do is you want to start experimenting with different distorted wavetables. So remember, this is turned down. The only reason this is playing is because FM from B is turned up here. So we're going to change the wavetable to something like this, monster, something that looks crazy and dirty. You can turn this in different directions, and this will change the sound of this. Cool. Now if you hear, it's the same sound every single time. It goes, but we want it to go like, we kind of want the sound to change. So the way you do that is you get another LFO and you kind of make a little ramp. So it's going to go up. The sound is going to go up. And what we want to do is we want to go half of the speed of this. So this is kind of going fast at 1/4. But we want this to kind of go slow. We'll just go down 1 to 1/2. And then we're going to add this to knobs that change the tone of the sound or just change the sound. So like this knob that I just showed you, change the sound. We can add it here. Now you hear it's two different sounds. And we're going to add it to this FM from B. We're going to turn this resonance up. And if you see here, it's moving this peak up, which will add more characteristics to the sound. This drive will also do the same. See, it's raising it up, basically making it more intense, giving it more volume. So I just want to add a little bit of that. Now this, we're going to put on trigger as well. So every time I hit it, it's going to do the same thing. Now we have a sound that's going back and forth. So basic sound design, you start with a basic sound, bring in a dirtier sound, and remember we can move this. To get new basses. So mess with this section first, get used to it, get used to just making different sounds. Remember, change the rate to change the speed and create different rhythms. Next, we want to go to the effects, and I want to teach you just some simple basic effects that you want to use often. So this hyperdimension, this is going to add width, stereo width. Because when you make music, you don't want everything to just be in the middle. You want it to be on the sides also. So when we turn this up, you'll hear the sound start to spread out. So we just want to add a little. But what we could do is we can add this LFO, our first one, to the mix, this is like the push and pull. And then we're just going to add a little bit like this. So every time it turns on, it goes up and then goes back down to make it clean. The next important one is going to be distortion, which is going to be basically distorting the sound, making it grittier and dirtier. And this is used almost in every patch. Tube distortion is just regular. The one I like to use is diode 2 because when you turn it down, you can add it to the drive just like we've been doing, and it'll distort it when it goes up and down. You can change the distortions too if you want. Perfect. Next, we want to add a compressor. This is just going to make the sound louder. You turn on multi-band so that it affects the lows and the mids and highs separately. When you play the sound, you want to turn down the threshold so that you can start to activate the compressor. It's going to turn it up. It's going to get it loud. You want to do this so that you can make the sound full and bright. Lastly, the other important knob that I want to show you, that I want you guys to try, is going to be the filter knob. Now, if you go to the flanges or the miscellaneous, you can mess with these, and these are going to add different tones and different sound qualities to the sound. If we do combs, all passes, or reverb, these are 3 of the heaviest filters. You can also use formants, and you can also use these combs and these flanges. I'm going to pick this comb filter right here, and when you move the cutoff, it's going to change where the filter is. Resonance. This is another thing you can add the LFO to. And with the cutoff, this is kind of changing the tone, so we can kind of add just a little bit of this LFO too. Once again, going back and forth between the tone of this filter. We can turn it up with this drive. We can even widen it with this pan. Awesome. There's a lot of other effects in here that are really awesome and useful, but I want you guys to just use these 4 for now and make sounds that are heavy and loud, because these are very powerful effects, and you guys should learn these first and then move on to like the reverb, delay, EQ, and the other effects here. But I want you to keep it simple for now. Make a simple bass. When you start a song, when I start a song, I usually start with like a long bass, so like a growl. So it'd be like in this section, maybe like 1 bar like this. Then after that, I go like raw. That's the call, and then the response could be, or even a triplet, like 1/8 triplet. So then what you'll do is you'll have 1 patch that goes slow. You'll make your MIDI clip. If you highlight the section, Command-Shift-M will make the MIDI clip, or you can right-click, Insert MIDI clip. Now, when we're in here, we're just going to play the note we've been playing, which is going to be D0. This is D3. I'm going to hold Shift and hit down to move down octaves to D0. So now we have this bass written in. I'm going to click on this, because this is the first one. I'm going to hit Command-D to duplicate it. So now we have 2 of them. Command R to rename, and I'll rename this to 2. Now we can move this, because this is going to be the next sound, because it's going to go long bass, and then we want to do a fast bass right here. So now we're laying out the sounds one after another. Same exact sounds right here. Let's open the second one, and let's change the speed of this. So it was at 1 bar, let's change it to something fast, like the 1/8 triplet. So now it sounds like this. And then you can get the growl again. And you're going to make these basses talk to each other. So this says rar, this says da 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 da, and then it went back to rar. So, but for this one, I want it to do something different. So then I hit Command D again. We'll have the same patch. We can delete this one. We can delete this one. Because all we need is this one. Now, since this is by itself, over here, we can rename it to 3, open it, and change the speed. So now I want it to go a little slower. So we'll go to 1/4. So now it sounds like this. So then you have a simple loop, call, and response. Your whole drop is basically going to be this, combining different call and response rhythms, but keep it slow for now and just make things easy for yourself. You don't want to go too crazy at first. Serum's very advanced and complicated. Keep it simple. Watch this video over and over again. If you want to get these sounds right away, you can get it in my Patreon. But if you guys need help, just hit me up in my Discord and I can teach you whatever you want. I hope you enjoy. Leave any comments if you need any help. Keep making dubstep and keep on rolling. Peace out, guys. Later.
Damn!